5 months ago, I could barely introduce myself in English. I avoided conversations, afraid of making mistakes. But everything changed when I discovered a new way to learn. Faster, simpler, and more natural. In this story, I'll show you exactly how I did it, step by step, while you learn English too. 5 months ago, Jake sat in front of his computer, frustrated and tired. He had been studying English for years, memorizing grammar rules, reading textbooks, watching videos, yet every time someone spoke to him, his mind went blank. Words disappeared. Sentences came out broken. One night, he finally admitted to himself, "The problem isn't English. The problem is how I'm learning it." That realization changed everything. Instead of trying to learn more, Jake decided to learn better. He stopped chasing thousands of new words and focused on mastering a few simple ones. He stopped studying grammar and started speaking, even if it was messy. He began to train his brain to think in English, not translate from his native language. So, he made a bold decision, a 5-month experiment. No expensive courses. No grammar books. No magic. Only daily, consistent practice, using real English in real life. At first, it was uncomfortable. He sounded strange. He forgot words. But every day, he spoke a little more, understood a little more, and began to feel the language instead of forcing it. And that's the story you're about to hear, not a miracle, but a method. Because fluency isn't a gift. It's a system. In this lesson, you'll follow Jake's journey, step by step, to discover how he transformed from a shy learner into a confident English speaker in just 5 months. But this video is not only about learning English. It's about learning how to learn, how to stay consistent, motivated, and fearless. Here's what you'll discover. In Part 3, the first 15 days, fixing the biggest mistake most learners make. In Part 4, how to build momentum with daily habits. In Part 5, the final breakthrough that changed everything. In Part 6, the most powerful lessons Jake learned. And in Part 7, your personal challenge to start today. This is more than an English lesson, it's your roadmap to fluency and confidence. When Jake started his 5-month challenge, he made a promise to himself. No more collecting words. No more grammar drills. From now on, I will train my mouth, not just my memory. He realized something that changed everything. The biggest mistake most English learners make is trying to learn more, instead of mastering what they already know. His goal for the first 15 days wasn't to expand his vocabulary, it was to make simple English automatic. 1. The survival sentence list. Jake began by writing down 50 sentences that he needed in everyday life. Small, practical ones like, "Can you repeat that? I don't understand. How do you say this in English? Could you please help me?" These were not fancy phrases. They were the real tools of communication. Every morning and every evening, Jake stood in front of the mirror and read these sentences out loud 10 times. He didn't whisper, he spoke clearly, using emotion and natural rhythm. At first, it felt robotic. But soon, something amazing happened, the sentences started to flow. He no longer had to think about grammar or translation. The words came out naturally, like muscle memory. To talk to yourself in English. Jake turned his daily routine into a classroom. When he cooked, he said, "I'm cutting the vegetables." When he cleaned, he said, "I need to wash the dishes." When he walked, he described what he saw, "The sky is so blue today. That man is wearing a red jacket." It might sound strange, but this was powerful. Talking to himself helped him connect thought and speech. His brain began to think directly in English, not through translation. By talking to himself, Jake was never alone. English was always with him. 3. Practice with a twist. Next, Jake added emotion to his practice. He chose 5 sentences from movies or real conversations every day. He didn't just repeat the words, he copied the feeling. If the actor was excited, Jake spoke with the same energy. If the line was sad or serious, he matched the tone. He paid attention to rhythm, melody, and pauses, the music of English. He learned that fluency isn't only about vocabulary, it's about sound, flow, and confidence. After 15 days, Jake noticed something incredible. He could speak simple English without stopping to translate. His brain and mouth were finally working together. He wrote in his journal, "Fluency doesn't begin when you know every word. It begins when you stop thinking about words and start feeling the language." Those first 15 days didn't make him fluent, but they built the foundation. He was no longer a student waiting to speak someday, he was a speaker already learning. After 2 weeks of daily practice, Jake's foundation was strong. He could use basic English automatically, but now, he wanted to move from simple sentences to real fluency. This was when the real training began, a phase of discipline, creativity, and total immersion. 1. The question-answer method, training the brain to think fast. Jake realized that most learners can understand English but freeze when they have to respond. To fix this, he used the question-answer method every day. He asked himself a question out loud. Something simple like, "What did you eat for breakfast?" He answered, "I ate eggs." Then he added more. "I ate eggs and toast. I ate eggs and toast because I didn't have time to cook. I ate eggs and toast, and I was listening to a podcast about success while eating." Each time, the sentence grew longer, faster, and more natural. His goal wasn't to be perfect, it was to respond instantly without translating. This exercise rewired his brain to think in English speed. 2. The echo technique, mastering sound and rhythm. Next, Jake worked on pronunciation and natural rhythm using the echo technique. He chose short clips from YouTube, podcasts, or movies, about 1 or 2 sentences long. He listened carefully, paused, then repeated the exact same words, copying intonation, pauses, and emotion. He didn't just say the sentence, he became the speaker. For 30 minutes every day, Jake echoed native voices, business talks, interviews, even cartoons. Within a few weeks, he noticed something incredible. His pronunciation became smoother. His voice carried more emotion. He sounded more confident and more natural. As he said, "When I copied the rhythm, English stopped feeling foreign. It started feeling like music." 3. The story method, making vocabulary come alive. Instead of memorizing isolated words, Jake created stories. Every day, he picked 5 new words and built a short story using all of them. For example, if the words were storm, window, promise, laugh, and dream, his story might go like this. "Last night, there was a storm outside my window. I promised myself not to be afraid. I laughed when I realized it was just the wind. I dreamed that the storm brought me courage." Then, he read that story out loud 10 times, focusing on flow and emotion. By repeating in context, the words became unforgettable. 4. Thinking in English, silent practice, real impact. Jake made English his mental soundtrack. While walking on the street, he silently described what he saw. "The shop is closed. The boy is running. The air feels cold today." Before sleeping, he wrote a short journal entry. What he did, how he felt, what he learned. English was no longer a subject. It was his second brain. 5. The 2-hour rule, total immersion. Finally, Jake created his golden rule, think or speak in English for at least 2 hours every day. No excuses. No skipping. He spoke to himself, watched videos, shadowed speakers, or wrote journals. Anything, as long as it was in English. And after a few weeks, he discovered the real secret to fluency. "The more I spoke, the less I doubted. The more I acted, the faster I learned." English was no longer something he studied, it became the way he lived. By the 3rd month, Jake was no longer a beginner. He could have conversations, but his words were shaky. He often paused, searching for the right phrase, worried about making mistakes. He wasn't silent anymore, but he wasn't fluent yet. That's when he realized something powerful. Fluency doesn't come when you stop making mistakes. It comes when you stop fearing them. 1. Learning grammar naturally. Observation over memorization. For years, Jake had tried to understand grammar by reading thick textbooks filled with rules, tenses, and exceptions. But when he tried to speak, all those rules disappeared. So he threw away the grammar books and started learning grammar like a child, through observation. He watched how native speakers used phrases in real life. Instead of memorizing present perfect, he noticed how people said, "I've been learning English for 5 months." Instead of, "I am learning English for 5 months." He began collecting real examples from YouTube, podcasts, and conversations. He kept a small notebook, not for rules, but for patterns. Patterns like, "I've just finished." "I'm about to." "It depends on." He didn't need to explain them, he simply used them again and again until they became natural. Grammar, he said, isn't learned through memorization. It's absorbed through repetition. 2. Speaking even when unsure. Breaking the fear barrier. Jake's biggest fear wasn't grammar, it was people. He was terrified of speaking English in public, afraid someone would laugh or correct him. But one day, he made a bold decision, to speak anyway. He started small, greeting the cashier, asking a question at the supermarket, chatting with a colleague in English even when it felt uncomfortable. To his surprise, no one laughed. No one corrected him harshly. In fact, most people smiled, helped him, and even admired his courage. He realized, people don't care if your English is perfect. They care if your heart is open. The fear that had held him back for years started to fade. Confidence began to grow in its place. 3. Preparing 10 conversation topics. Confidence through practice. Jake then decided to prepare for real-life conversations by mastering 10 common topics, things like work, hobbies, travel, daily routines, and dreams. For each topic, he practiced key sentences and personal stories. "I started learning English because I want to travel. My biggest challenge was speaking without translating." He practiced answering in different ways until the words flowed naturally. When he joined online meetups with people from other countries, he was ready. He didn't freeze anymore, he connected. For the shadowing technique, mastering flow and sound. Jake also added a new, advanced practice, shadowing. He listened to a native speaker, on TED Talks, podcasts, or interviews, and repeated in real time, trying to match the speaker's rhythm, tone, and emotion. It felt impossible at first. But day by day, his voice started to sound more fluent, more natural, more confident. He noticed that his mouth moved faster, his ears became sharper, and his English started to flow, just like a native's. 5. Confidence replaced fear. By the 5th month, something amazing happened. Jake sat in front of a computer screen, facing his first full English job interview. He didn't translate. He didn't freeze. He smiled, spoke clearly, and told his story. A week later, he got the job. Not because his English was perfect, but because his confidence was real. "Mistakes didn't stop me," Jake said. "They taught me." And from that day, he knew, fluency wasn't about English anymore. It was about mindset. When Jake finally looked back on his journey, he realized fluency wasn't a miracle, it was a method. It wasn't about natural talent or expensive courses. It was about mindset, environment, and consistency. Here are the 7 lessons that changed everything. 1. Mindset is everything. In the beginning, Jake's thoughts were his biggest obstacle. He used to say, "I'm bad at English." Every time he said that, his brain believed it. Then one day, he replaced that sentence with, "I'm improving every day." It sounded simple, even silly. But it changed everything. When he believed improvement was possible, he stopped judging himself and started learning faster. Confidence wasn't a result, it was the beginning. Your brain learns best when it feels safe, not when it feels scared. 2. Immerse yourself in English. Jake stopped waiting for study time. He turned his phone, social media, and YouTube into his classroom. His phone language was English. His playlists were in English. Every day, he lived inside the language. The goal wasn't perfection, it was exposure. When English became part of his life, learning became natural. 3. Speak without fear. Jake learned that the fastest way to learn is to fail publicly and recover quickly. He spoke even when his grammar was broken or pronunciation wasn't perfect. And every time he made a mistake, he learned something real, something no textbook could teach. Every mistake is a teacher, not a test. 4. Listen actively. Jake didn't just hear English, he listened. He mimicked accents, rhythm, and emotion through echoing and shadowing exercises. It wasn't just language practice, it was training his ears and mouth to move together. Soon, he began to feel the rhythm of English, its melody, not just its meaning. 5. Learn in context. Jake stopped memorizing random vocabulary lists. Instead, he learned phrases, small, living pieces of language. He noticed how words connected naturally. Make a decision, not do a decision. Take a shower, not do a shower. Phrases built fluency. Context built memory. 6. Grammar through usage. Grammar wasn't the goal, communication was. He stopped trying to be perfect before speaking. He spoke first, then fixed mistakes later. Through real conversation, grammar became muscle memory. 7. Consistency beats perfection. Some days, Jake studied 2 hours. Other days, just 15 minutes. But he never stopped. Fluency wasn't the result of a perfect plan, it was the result of daily motion. Fluency isn't an event. It's a habit. After 5 months of showing up, Jake didn't just speak English, he lived it. He proved that you don't need 5 years to become fluent, just 5 months of focus, belief, and consistency. Now it's your turn. If you've listened this far, you already know that fluency isn't about luck, talent, or secret methods, it's about action. Jake's story is proof that progress begins the moment you start, not when you feel ready. So here's your challenge, the 7-Day English Fluency Challenge. For the next 7 days, follow these simple but powerful steps. 1. Write 20 survival sentences. These are the sentences you use most often in daily life. Can you say that again? I don't understand. How much is this? Write them, read them aloud, and repeat until they become automatic. You'll be surprised how many real conversations you can handle using just these. 2. Speak out loud for 10 minutes every morning. Before you check your phone or start your day, talk to yourself in English. Describe what you see, what you plan to do, or how you feel. This daily warm-up trains your brain to think in English before the world distracts you. 3. Watch one short video and echo every line. Choose something you enjoy, a movie scene, a podcast clip, a YouTube video, and repeat exactly what you hear. Match the speaker's tone, rhythm, and feeling. This isn't just about pronunciation, it's about building muscle memory for fluency. 4. Write one English journal entry daily. It doesn't need to be perfect. Just express your thoughts. Write about your day, your dreams, or something you're grateful for. Writing builds clarity, in both thought and speech. 5. Talk to at least one person in English online. Join an English-speaking group, comment on a post, or use a language exchange app. Real conversations are where learning becomes living. Don't worry about mistakes. Worry about silence. 6. Think in English while walking or cooking. Describe the world around you silently. The sky is gray today. I'm boiling water for tea. These small thoughts train your brain to live in English, not just study it. 7. End each day by saying, I am improving. Because you are. Every word you say, every sentence you write, every moment you practice, it all counts. Jake's story ends with reflection, but your story begins here. He said, I didn't become fluent because I was special. I became fluent because I stopped waiting, stopped doubting, and started speaking. You don't need perfect grammar. You don't need the perfect accent. You just need the courage to begin, and to keep going, even when it feels awkward or slow. Because fluency isn't a talent. It's a habit, built word by word, day by day. So start today. Speak, listen, write, and live in English. Final message. Don't just learn English. Live in English. Don't just study words. Speak your dreams. Because your English journey isn't just about language, it's about becoming who you were meant to be.